Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Cruz.
This is Dan.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is David Labb.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick
I'm
Gillette.
Christopher
This is
Knopf.
Dr. Bob Greenberg.
I'm Laird Hamilton.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, I'm Mark Valley.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero, Mark Valley, and Pete A. Turner.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And our special guest today, judging this album fight, is the DJ filling the most ear holes in the live environment. He's a prolific turntablist in the entertainment capital of the world, and he sets the mood at the iconic Blue Heaven on Earth, Dodger Stadium. We're proud to call him a homie of the show. Pasadena is in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, DJ Severe.
Yes. Great to be back. You guys are my favorite. Oh, always a pleasure.
Yes.
Always a pleasure.
You were about to say we were your favorite. I'd like to hear what that is.
You know, we've had over the short time, we've had some great conversations, which I don't get to have with too many people of substance that, you know what I mean, and we just kind of talk. So it's always a pleasure. And I always look forward to, like I said, I was spinning until probably 3:15 in the morning.
Oof.
And I got some meetings, but I tried to make sure I was up for this. Two great albums. And then I'm a huge Prince fan, so this is kind of like right in my wheelhouse. Like I said, I just enjoy everything we do together. So it's always a pleasure, you know.
Well, we're from the same wheelhouse, so we've been saving this one for you.
Okay, dope.
This fight is huge. I would say that Prince is what many would argue, and what I would argue, his place in music history is that he was probably the greatest single creator of music in the 20th century. In Bruno Mars, as a singer, dancer, performer, writer, arranger, and band leader, is likely this generation's greatest chance at someone who can take the torch from him. So this is an epic battle. I will say that we have been saving this for you because we have, like you said, had communication where we've talked in substance about music and about music that matters to us in a way that is pretty unique, although maybe universal, because one of the things that I was looking at today, every once in a while when I'm listening to something, I'll pull it up on YouTube and I'll watch the official video. And I watched the official video for one of the Bruno Mars songs. I think it might have been Chunky, might have been 24 Karat Magic. And I saw in the time that this album has been out, which is probably right around a year, it's got 144 million views.
Jesus Christ.
So while we can say, hey, man, it's nice to have our musical tastes be in common, our musical tastes are in common with a great many people.
Right.
So let's do a pre-fight analysis with our pre-fight analysis man, Richard. Richard, what do you think?
Thanks, guys. And like we always say, this week's fight is very interesting. There's that old saying, we use it a lot here, is that styles make fights. And this week's fight might be the closest two albums have been regarding style. Purple Rain is an iconic 80s R&B funk pop album, and Mars has noted that 24 Karat Magic is inspired by 80s pop. So let's see who's stronger tonight, the inspired or the inspiration. Now, 24 Karat Magic is the third studio album from Bruno Mars. It was released in November of 2016. It won 2 Grammys, including the coveted Album of the Year. It asserted 2 times platinum, selling over 2 million units in the U.S., and was the 4th best-selling album of 2016. But to be fair, this is an old way of valuing albums. With today's multiple platforms and a la carte purchasing of music, it's very hard to compare old album sales versus newer album sales using the old album standards. But there's an interesting measuring stick I'll bring up later. Purple Rain is not only the soundtrack to the 1984 movie starring Prince, it's also his 6th studio album and the first to feature the band The Revolution. And if you're an old fart like me who was in high school when this came out, this album was everywhere. It stayed number 1 on the Billboard album charts for 24 weeks. That's the 4th longest streak of all time. Every party, every dance, every road trip in 1984, you heard this album. It produced 2 Billboard number 1s and has to date sold over 25 million copies worldwide, 13 million in the U.S. But yeah, I said I'd get to my point about that. Forget how many albums it sold way back when. But in 2016, when Prince unfortunately passed away, and ironically the same year 24 Karat Magic was released, Purple Rain was the 13th best-selling album of 2016. The 13th best-selling album of that year. That's 32 years after it was released. Now, it'd be very easy as an old guy to dismiss 24 Karat Magic and Bruno Mars, but I won't do that here. This guy is very talented and a hit-making machine at this point. So all respect and credit goes to him. There's a lot of talk with people, is he the next Prince or Michael Jackson, or is he better than them? To that I say it's just way too early in his career to say. We need to see his mid and later career, how he ages and how his music evolves before we put him up there with people like Prince or Michael Jackson. But one could argue he's heading that way. And I think it's very fair to say that he's got a shot. That said, in looking at this fight, these two albums, song versus song, the second half of Purple Rain is astronomically strong. I'm not so sure that Mars will win a round after round 5. So with that said, I say it's unanimous decision, 6 rounds to 3 for Purple Rain. Back to you guys.
Hey, thanks, Richard. Always a great analysis. What do you think, Pete?
Well, you know how we always put our disclaimer somewhere in the show. Because these are two iconic acts, I want to make sure the people who are new to the concept understand this. We love these albums. We are doing this because we want to talk about it. We want to provoke thought. We want you guys to buy Purple Rain. We want you to buy 24 Karat Magic. We want you to support these acts. We're going to be a little critical from here to there, but the thing is I want to have this conversation with my friend DJ Severe, my friend John. I want you guys to have opinions and to contribute and give us all a new way to look at music. These guys never planned for this to happen. So that, to judge their art in this yeah, it's absolutely unfair and it's corny, but it's what we do and it's a lot of fun. So hashtag do the work. If you're not sure what we're going to do it round by round and you'll see weird things happen. We're going to see some weird things today. And I'm excited to see what Bruno Mars comes up with because, like you said, John, I think he's the guy that's out there that has all of the talent and the capability to get to where Prince got to get to where Michael Jackson got to get to where Paul McCartney got to. Where third album in his career, let's see what he's got right now at this point compared to where Prince was in his.
Severe, what do you think?
It's funny because we both feel the same way about Bruno Mars, and it's funny to see in this time, like you talk about, the views, which obviously Prince didn't have that going for him because it wasn't that type of environment at the time. I guess you could call whatever he did with any of his albums or anything at the time more organic. But the funny thing is, with as of late in the last couple months, Bruno Mars being, like you said, probably this generation's best chance at a iconic Prince or Michael Jackson-esque entertainer, he's taken a little bit of flack from the community as far as some of the content of his music and the kind of his inspiration, which for me, when it first came out, was I looked at it as a tribute, and it's kind of funny how it kind of came back as backlash. So it's going to be interesting to see where his career goes from here as far as critics and the microwave musical minds that are out there now that are kind of like, what have you done for me lately? And can you do this? And it's going to be really interesting to see at his third album, which was so incredibly good, what he can do going forward. But it's very interesting, like I said, the difference in how he's kind of looked at in the environment right now. He took a lot of flack for, I think, finesse. So,
that's a great point.
You know what I mean? He took a lot of flack. And then like I said, myself seeing it personally with Jesse Johnson, having a conversation with him right at my laptop.
Yes.
About copying music and different things. So it's like it's been a different one for me because I love his music. I think he's dope as shit. And I'm just like, to see the turn that it's going, I'm like, this is different. Because I've seen it from both the fans and then from people who created the music. So I'm kind of like interested to see what his turn and how he can create from here. If he's just going to turn a blind eye to what everybody's saying and continue doing it, is he going to turn a blind eye to the artists who came before him? Or what's going to be his next venture?
I want to circle back to these comments because that's such a strong point after we go through the fight and see if what we have to say about the fight collectively gives you any speculations, because I think that we'll probably touch on that enough. And at the end of this, maybe we'll see what you think, what I think, and what Pete thinks about what his direction's going to be.
Okay.
Let's start with round one. Let's Go Crazy versus 24 Karat Magic. Severe, start us off.
Okay, so Let's Go Crazy. It's great intro to an album. Just the intro, just the drop of the keyboard. The two differences in the track to me, because even you have 24 Karat Magic. When I first heard 24 Karat Magic, I'm like, okay, here's another hit. Now it's on the heels of Uptown Funk, but solid song. And I'm always talking from sort of two different perspectives, because I don't know that I would play Let's Go Crazy as many times as I play 24 Karat Magic. Both in every venue I go to, it's like my go-to to keep the floor, to integrate the floors, no matter what kind of event it is. But it's always, it can't miss. Now, but Let's Go Crazy is such an iconic song. They both got 10s with me, so I can't, you know what I mean? But they serve two different masters.
Yes.
Right.
If you know,
but you scored it a draw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, two different philosophies for a round one song or the start of a fight is just like two boxers. One comes in with a more calculated beginning where he's going to size up the opponent. The other one says, I'm going to go in and, I'm just going to start wailing and see what happens. So, both respectful ways to come at it.
Definitely.
It's interesting to hear you say that you spin 24 Karat Magic a lot.
It is definitely a go-to, and actually it's a go-to and a bullet in your holster that you save just to gauge where your party is and where it can go from there. At least for me, you know what I mean? It's a gauge, and it's a saver for. And the funny thing is, every time you play, you're like, I'm gonna be playing this song for as long as I'm DJing. This is never gonna be, and to see the same reaction no matter what race or gender you are or what type of party it is, and it doesn't even have age limits. You know what I mean? Right. It's kids to 80-year-olds, so instant everybody recognizes it. It's an instant classic. You know what I mean? It's sometimes a gift and a curse to people. You know what I mean? If he can't do another 24K Magic, I don't know how he's gonna please his fans, which that's hard. I mean, I didn't think you could do another Uptown Funk. You know what I mean? And he topped that. You know what I mean? Because they're kind of 1A, 1B-ish. So you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, if one's not working, they're both usually going to work for me. But you know what I mean? It's kind of like now Uptown Funk is kind of okay. Here we go. This is a slight gauge, but I know if this doesn't work, I got 24 Karat Magic still in my back pocket. You know what I mean? And then so that's where that one lies.
Okay, Pete, what do you think?
Well, like you said, this is how you start an album off, DJ Severe. I have a funny thing. Both of these are like party songs, like you said. These get things going. One's got a purple banana, and one's got a rocket. Chicks are getting them all fired up and everything. So I dig it. Let's Go Crazy. Look, Prince sits down to write a whole album out, and he starts right here. And this is back in the era where an album is the art. It's not just one track. And this is how he wants it to start. He's telling this story. I love how he jumps off. And if anybody had any notion Prince's band isn't tight, this song right here starts off, and it's tight as fuck. So this is clearly an 80s song, but it's still relevant today. I imagine that Prince would perform it slightly different. But this song will play for a long time. God, man, I just love so many things. In the background, there's a voice like it says, "We're all going to die." And you just got to be paying attention. And I never hear that when I'm listening because I'm not listening at that level. But in these things, I'm like, God, look at all these little details. And that was just one of the ones that I pulled out. I love Let's Go Crazy. I don't know that you can start an album off better than this. However, 24 Karat Magic is right there and as good as anything. I love when the bass is like, whoa, your head starts moving right from the start. It's like you're on a roller coaster ride, and if Bruno Mars can do one thing well, he can sing you a party, and that is exactly what he's going to do. What you going to do? Just all of it. It's tight. Everything about the arrangement, I love it. It's head bobbing from the start, and then he's like, shit, I'm a dangerous man when I got money in my pocket. Keep up. All right, I'm going to try to keep up with that. That's fantastic. To me, Bruno opens a touch stronger than Prince 10-9.
So you scored the 10-9 Bruno. Yeah. I love 24 Karat Magic too. I love it. Pop, it's showtime. whenever you need that bullet, there's your bullet. You're telling the crowd exactly what's going on. And the composition of the song, one thing I'm a big fan of is the way that he performed it at the American Music Awards. So if you guys haven't seen out there the clip of him performing it, look up American Music 24 Karat Magic. My favorite performance, again, like Severe said, tribute. In the middle of that, he sings, he dances, does the whole routine. The thing about Let's Go Crazy is that it kicked off a whole new era of music. And so for that, for the full composition of it, for how adventurous it was, I will say I scored a 10-9, Let's Go Crazy. Round 2 is Take Me With You versus Chunky. Pete, start us off.
Well, look, both of these are love songs. Prince is feeling something maybe a little bit deeper, and that's cool. I don't care where we go. I don't care what we do. Just take me with you. You know, the thing that makes this song for me a slightly better than Chunky is that, one, there's actually a cello with a bow being drawn across it, and this is going to be a theme throughout this album. It's one thing to punch something up, and it takes a lot of musical talent to do that. But when you're in the studio and you're doing things in real time, you know, the great people who play on these things can say, I have an idea, and that idea can grow out of that thing because you're live and having this conversation. And I think that there's an advantage here for Prince with that. So I do like Take Me With You because it is this love song. And then the latter half of the song, Apollonia sings it. So this isn't just Prince falling in love, it's Apollonia falling back and singing. They're singing together. And I love the duality of that, and I love how the music kind of plays in between them. It's really fantastic. Chunky is awesome. It's fun. Sir Mix-a-Lot owns this particular theme, right? He's got that. So he set the bar, and you've got to try to get over it. And I think Chunky's comparable. It's fun. It's new disco. It's electric funk and all of those things. It reminds me a lot of P-Thug, Patrick Gamile, the guy that plays the keys in Chromeo. I kept thinking, oh, is he on this? And I kept looking to see if I could find him credited on the album, and he's not. But this is like his feel is in this song. I love the line 37, 27, 42. Squeeze all that into my coupe. I love that. This song is fun. It's just a shade less than Prince, but the duality of the love thing, I think, takes it to another place where it's a little less, it's a little deeper. And for me, that makes this a knockdown round. 10-8 Prince.
Wow. A knockdown on Chunky. The thing about Chunky that I like is that it borrows a lot of an optimistic time in music, and the sounds are great. I think it reminds me tempo-wise of Outstanding. How if you look at Outstanding throughout the years by the Gap Band, Outstanding was one of those songs that was like, oh yeah, this is a good mid-tempo, just pretty good song. And it seems like the song has aged even better than it was when it came out. I think the thing about Chunky is the wit of the lyrics. Like you said, Pete, Mix-a-Lot owns the tribute to the big girls, but this tributes the big girls in a different way, and I think that it's worthy of sitting up there in the in the category of mid-tempo songs that are just gonna move the party along, as opposed to, you wouldn't play Outstanding to get the party started. You're not going to play Chunky to get the party started either. But in that middle part where you almost need to breathe a little bit, and you just want to give a shout out to the big girls, I think Chunky's going to be one that has a lot of staying power as well. Take Me With You was a song, though, that created a different emotion at a time when you had ballads that sang about love and then up-tempo songs that sang about dancing. And this one was one that wasn't necessarily a love song as much as it was a song about companionship, which was a pretty deep subject to enter into at that time. And maybe it just hit me when I was 14, 15 years old. But to give the theme of companionship some attention, to me was really important. It was key. And again, on Prince's choice to do this with Apollonia, it was kind of daring, I thought. I scored a 10-9. Take Me With You. What did you do, Sabir?
First, let me break down Take Me With You. After you follow Let's Go Crazy, and then the way the keyboards ring in, kind of like raining down on you, and it's kind of like telling your story. So it's almost like from one scene to the next. So it's almost like, and then you remember that there's a movie that goes with this, and it's kind of like introducing Apollonia. Great song. I loved it. I just, like I said, the keyboards raining down and kind of like bringing you down. Had a nice touch with Apollonia at the back end, because it kind of, like you said, introduced us to her and to see what she could do. Now, Chunky to me is same thing. I love the intro, keyboards raining down with that deep like bass to it too. When I first heard Chunky, immediately after 24K Magic, it went to me, I think it was the best song last year out, period.
Wow.
Man, that's strong.
Yeah.
When it rained, the keyboards rained in, and it went to that classic two-step, which speaks to me. And then you got to shake a little something. He just started off so right. Whoever mixed the song, it was one of the best stellar jobs of last year. Solid. And I use this track as a gauge in parties to see where you're musically at, because even if you don't know this track, never heard this track, your head should be bobbing. This is one of the greatest tracks, like, I think. And it's like, I actually gave him a hand clap for this. I could not believe how good this track was. And like I said, hands down, to me, it was the top song of last year. And it's almost automatic instant go-to for me to kind of set the bar of where I'm at DJing for that day, because Chunky to me is like an awesome track. And then like that's why I think I gave it a 10, and I think I might have
pool party song too, huh?
Yes, oh definitely. And then to play it, and then for people to actually get it and what they're listening to, I actually pick out to see whose head is bobbing, because it was hands down to me one of the best tracks of a great way to bring back the two-step era. And like I said, when I played it, it actually pulled Jesse Johnson over to my laptop, so it'll always be forever in my life as I got to talk to Jesse Johnson while playing this track. So this, it's hands down the best song of last year.
Okay, hold on. First of all hail Jesse Johnson.
Yes.
He never gets enough due in my book.
Oh, never enough.
Even his solo stuff. I want to be your man. Anyway.
Oh man.
I don't want to derail this too much.
Yeah.
Ask you, just so our listeners get a frame of reference. When you talk about Chunky as being kind of the barometer, before Chunky came along, what was your barometer?
Ooh, would probably be, wow.
How about something by Maxwell?
No, because that
That's
to
awesome.
me.
How about Return of the Mac?
Definitely Return of the Mac. That's definitely barometer, but it's still kind of the same. I would say my barometer would be wow. That's a tough question, because my barometers would change per party or per event. But those are definitely two good ones. Now, if I had to say anything, it would be, and this is funny, this was my barometer for a long time. It's one of my favorite songs of all time by the Jacksons. That's What You Get for Being Polite. And then that would be like my barometer, because I kind of like would play that at the beginning of a party just to see what kind of musical heads I have and who would bob their head and who. Because I mean, that's one of my favorite songs, is That's What You Get for Being Polite. And it was just musically one of the best songs ever made. Nobody knows hardly about it. Mike's voice was incredible. The hop and the beat, but that was my barometer before, just to see where I'm at. But Chunky right now, I'm telling you, Chunky, that song, that's one of the best songs I've ever heard.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
John, I want to take an aside with you real quick.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we write a note to ourselves. When DJ Severe is spinning and we're at the party, we got to make sure we get to the dance floor, because he's testing folks.
Oh, yeah. He is. And you know what? Even if it's not yet time for the dance floor, I know exactly what you're talking about, because you just kind of peek over, and it may still be time for people to be socializing, catching up. You know, not time to fill the dance floor, but you look over, and when you see the next move, and you go, okay, I know what we got.
Yeah, I know what we got. I know what we're working with. Definitely.
And I want to add this in, like, you know, if we're at the party and DJ Severe, you're spinning, and you see this, like, you know, it doesn't matter what race or everything else. My race is neck popping music. So if you see that out there and moving around, I'm a big dopey white guy. Add a rhythm and everything else, but my race is that song that you're playing. I love it.
Dope.
All right, we're going round 3. The Beautiful Ones versus Perm. I love Perm. I love it. What do I love about Perm? Well, I got bone straight hair, so it can't be that. But I came from the Jerry Curl era.
Okay.
So I know exactly what it means to pat, pat, pat until it's flat. When I heard this song the first time, I appreciated the wit. I appreciated the singing. I mean, Bruno Mars is a terrific singer. I love the break in the middle, with the ringing guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a composition, the song is great. It's very James Brown tribute-y, and I love James Brown. So I thought, okay, I'll go on this ride. I enjoy this ride. And the lyrics were fun, and the vocal interplay between him and the background singer is a lot of fun. The wit in the beginning is terrific. Going up against the Beautiful Ones, though, it took me back to, and the Beautiful Ones is, now I don't know how you guys feel about this, but Purple Rain is not my favorite Prince album. As ballads go, though, the Beautiful Ones ranks up there with some of his best. And, he was a great balladeer. So I would put the Beautiful Ones in there with all the terrific ones. Adore. It's way up there. That, and I recall the scene in the movie where he started off the Beautiful Ones sitting at the piano. Morris Day looked over at his shoulder at what was going on, because he was starting his set with a ballad. And then the whole, the way he brought the house down and the screaming in the end. And then he got up and walked out. And I remember the club owner going, "What's this one song shit?" But one song was all he needed in that scene. It's almost like we all know that James Brown invented the mic drop. But if there was ever anything that deserved a mic drop, it was the performance of the Beautiful Ones. So I went 10-9 Beautiful Ones. What did you do, Pete?
So when it comes to Perm, obviously this is James Brown in the house. Bruno Mars, thank God he makes James Brown available to the young kids now. Like this is one of the best things about this. And him and all his guys, like you said, John, they're able to put all of these super fun references that are like hashtag blessed. All these things are peppered in throughout these songs. So the songcraft for such a big group of people is really stellar. And put some sheen on it, activate your sexy, all these cool little lyrics in there. It's a lot of fun. I am left a little flat though with Perm, because no one's playing an actual instrument. There's no bass being played. It's all pre-programmed. And again, I'm going to penalize Bruno Mars. Look, I expect more from him. I need him to get out past this thing that he's at. And this album is a specific thing. He can afford to have the best bass player in the world in the room. He can put these people together. And then if you want to sequence something and bring it in and have a bass player work off that, that's great. But when you talk about what Prince is capable of doing, and what Bruno Mars is capable of doing, I think Bruno Mars is not doing himself a credit by getting in the studio with live instruments, because he's got the people to do it.
What makes you think that the bass part wasn't played live?
It's not credited.
There's no bass guitar player who's credited. But what makes you think the part wasn't played live?
The part played live on the keyboard, that to me seems like it's sequenced, though. Why wouldn't you grab a bass guitar and play it so that you've got an opportunity to make it into something else?
Well, it's the choice of a different instrument. Sure. Half the Parliament tracks had Bernie Worrell playing Moog bass.
Yeah. But and it's not the only choice that's like that. They're not in a room with instruments. They're in a room with keyboards, sequencers, synthesizers. And I think the song suffers from it. So, look, that's just how I see it. I think if you're going to pick out, look, at this level, this song is great. Let's be honest. It's fun. It makes me laugh. It makes me want to move. But when you're going against Prince, there's going to be little things that make a difference. And instrument choice, I think, matters. Beautiful Ones, we have that Prince sound, and I can't imitate the sound very well, but there's that drum sound. And it's almost like they're hitting a Tupperware jug. And John, you probably know what that is more than I do. Yeah. But that kind of sound is a motif throughout the entire album. And it lets you know, like, it's a Prince signature sound, when you hear that thing. And I love that that's in here, and it goes throughout, and it's not overdone. I love the tenderness after falling in love in the previous track. Here we've got, this beautiful, look, and this is how great this song is. There are dozens of beautiful girls that want to be the beautiful girl in this song that leaves Prince behind. Is it Apollonia? Is it Sheena Easton? Is it Beyonce? Like, they've all taken a piece from this song and either used it for themselves or claimed to be the one that was the beautiful one. And that to me says a lot. most important thing in this song is what's on display vocally from Prince. He goes from his regular fantastic singing all the way at the limit of his full voice into falsetto, guttural screeching, and like just cat-like growling. And those places that he's coming from, when you go against a song like Perm, that is an absolute whooping. I mean, it's just Prince is getting to a deeper place, and this is why I'm kind of penalizing John on the instrument choice.
Yeah, I hear you.
When you're doing this, when you're on the floor writhing around, one song set done. Yeah, that's for me. This is 10-9 Prince.
Again, we're in a situation where Bruno Mars would have had no idea ever recording this song that, well, I better step it up a little bit, and I better get somebody in here to play this bass because somebody might listen to this right after the beautiful one. Severe, what'd you score?
Wow, Pete. So Pete, I'm telling you, Pete, we had never been more musically connected than we have been right now. So I'm gonna tell you,
that means a lot to me, man. Seriously, that means a lot to me.
Really, seriously. Because you were saying, as we were, let me just get to it. So, okay, first off, Perm, to me, I feel the same way. That was a skit track. That should have been a skit. But it kind of like, it set the tone too much as almost taking your album and staying too much on the topic or it was just a skit. I mean, good song, and DJ-wise, I can't really use it for anything. I get the lyrics, I get the comedy nature, but that's why I also say it was a skit. It could have been a 1 minute 30-second track, and then just to play off of the last song going to the next. It was a skit to me. Now, the beautiful ones, just like you said, as a number one Prince fan, it introduced that Prince snare as that's his signature snare from here on out, because just the way you start a ballad off and that snare is still there, like slapping in the background, and it's like it's an integral part of the track. That just told me right there, this is Prince's snare from here on out. And just to kind of confirm that this is my drum sound that I'm using from here on out, and it just locked in. But the beautiful ones, hands down, like you said, in the movie, for him to do that ballad and walk off, definitely one of his best ballads of all time, and the way it carried out. But Beautiful Ones was a 10, Perm was an 8 to me.
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business, or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at The Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
Boy, a knockdown round on Perm. Yeah. That's a great point. You guys make excellent points here. I also want to point out, like you said, this was the sort of debut of that snare sound that we heard again over and over again on tracks like 17 Days,
right.
Mary Beret. So, yeah, that carries a lot of weight. Okay, round 4. Severe, keep us going. Round 4 was Computer Blue against That's What I Like. What'd you score?
I know I gave That's What I Like a 10 because beat was dope, lyrics dope. To start off, I got a condo in, man, just a perfect bridge to great writing, great use of a beat of today. And it just was a great track from the time I heard it. And then I actually heard this before I heard Chunky. So I thought this was going to be the track that was going to take the place or be the bridge to everybody after 24 Karat Magic. Also, I use it as a Kiss Cam song all the time at Dodger Stadium because it gives me that Friday night feel, a newer track. But the beat slamming, great production. Again, Computer Blue I gave Computer Blue a 9 only because it's still a great song. I like the constant feel of the song. Computer Blue is one of the few Prince songs to me that ran the same consistently all the way through. You know what I mean? No dropout, no really intense bridge, no kind of solo to remember it by, but it just consistently was a great song consistently throughout the whole track. The writing is the only song that is hard to kind of place in everything else that's going on with the album, but it was still a classic to me because you just all of a sudden Computer Blue, and it's just so different from what the rest of the album says. To me, the rest of the album kind of goes together, synced together, and Computer Blue was kind of just like a throw-in of a great song just to give you something different. And it was, again, one of the reasons why I'm a huge Prince fan. But that's what I like. To me, again, was definitely just a dope song. And if I ever get a chance to talk to Bruno, I'll tell him like how that concept was just a 10 to me.
Yeah. Pete, what do you say?
For me, Computer Blue is the weakest song on an extraordinarily strong album. So to say that is put that in context. But this is the song I think was transitional. Again, in the album context, it's doing several things for Prince to let him open up what is maybe the best back half of an album ever done.
Right.
So he's got to pay some bills and doing this. And this is like, I call this as like an F-150 of a song. Like, it ain't all that pretty, but it's going to do all the work that you need it to do and get you from A to B. And what happens after B is fucking incredible.
Right.
So it's not as strong as That's What I Like. And That's What I Like, this is Bruno Mars and his guys being clever, being witty. No jammies? Nope. Like those kind of things that play back and forth. I love it. They put all the elements in the song. And I'm not a huge fan of trap music, but I didn't get distracted by it here with this song. So I give the song credit for that and using that trap kind of, drum feel. And that just makes the old man in me come out. I'm like, oh, damn, play some damn drums. But I like that. I like that part. This, of all the tracks that I listened to, and you know how this is, John, like we listen to all, in this case, 19 or 18 songs, you're going to have some that sticks in the head. And this was the one that I could not get out. It continued to stay in. That's what I like. I like it. I like it. It hooked the hardest. I love this song. That's what I like. 10-9.
I agree. The shit is sticky. It's sticky as hell. And it's a great ballad in the Prince-ish vein. I also want to go back to the fact that Severe uses it in the Kiss Cam. Hey man,
yeah.
What
right.
more to anoint your ballad than to have it become a Kiss Cam song?
Right.
At Dodger Stadium, by the way.
At Dodger Stadium. So the Friday Night Feel, you're absolutely right about that. I got a condo in Manhattan. As soon as I very first heard that lyric, you know what I wanted to say right after that was 2 more in Malibu.
Right.
This is another one of those times where Prince's influence shows up. And Bruno Mars uses it to great effect. I like the way that this almost reminded me in terms of the composition. I mean, he had the keyboard orchestra hits that he's using right there to make this song slam the way it does. It sort of reminds me of a lot of Prince-esque ballads. And then the way that he breaks it down in the middle. And again, I'm going to point our viewers to a performance. I don't quite remember what the live performance was that he did, but he did an awards show performance. It might have been the Grammys. It might have been something else, Video Music Awards or whatever. But he did this song with his band. And at one point, they did the breakdown, and he stepped forward and had the mic in his hand and said, you thought we'd be afraid to do this song live? There's no way we weren't going to do this live. And then he and the boys walked out into the crowd and serenaded whoever was in the front row. And he really showed his prowess and his dominance as a live performer in that particular performance. This is paying tribute to the influences, but him emerging as a confident artist who can take the art form and the pavement that was laid before him and really use it to great effect. Computer Blue is a solid song. It does drive all the way through. There is that transition point where they go into the keyboard solo, and it's great. It's a terrific song. Pete, you may be right that they used it as a purposeful song, and I can see why you would rank it as not the strongest song on this album, or no, let me use the words you use, with the weakest song on this album. But it's a weak song on an album that anybody would kill to have the weakest song on.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, it did serve a purpose. It was a bridge from, one side of the record to the other. Not quite, because Darling Nikki was the last song on side one on the vinyl version of this album. If I'm remembering that correctly, Computer Blue was the transition into it. So it's got a great bridge. That solo bridge that's in it is terrific. And it itself on this album side is kind of like the solo bridge. Not quite as strong, but stronger than most people's work on any of their records. I still don't know what the shit is about though, so I went. Track 5. Yeah, exactly. Track 5. Pete, I think you're up. Darling Nikki versus Versace on the Floor. What'd you score?
So look, before I even go into round 5, what I want to say is I'm a little bit worried about Bruno Mars's team's soundcraft versus Prince. And I think that Bruno Mars and those guys write incredible songs, but the things that Prince is doing, how he sets up his punches for our thing, it's going at a different level, and he's getting more out of what happens. Prince is not just partying and singing about girls and things. He's going to a different place, and I'm not sure that Bruno Mars' songs on this album can hold up. And we talked about it a little bit in the open, but I'm going to go ahead and say this. This album, these songs from Bruno Mars and all the incredible, talented people there, it's vapid.
Ouch.
Yeah. But I mean, I look up the word. It is the word to use. Yeah. There's not enough going on here. And I'm afraid that we're going to see a real problem as Prince kicks it into another gear. And I'm going to just Versace on the Floor. It's a slow jam, and I love Preston Glass, and that's why I want to make sure I get a chance to throw a shout out to Preston, because he is the king of the lush ballad of the slow jam. So Bruno's great at this, and he's keeping genres alive and using things. But I've heard this song. Is this Freddie Jackson? Is this Color Me Bad? Is it Boys to Men? It's all of these things, and there's nothing wrong with doing a song in that vein. But in this context, this is really a cover, is what this is. And covers around here, unless you own them, they get hurt. And when you go against a song that you basically couldn't play on radio, that drove Tipper Gore crazy because a girl was masturbating in a lobby, you've got a real problem. So Darling Nikki is an incredible song, and this makes me think that Prince was our Mozart. He died too young, but the work that he did left this dent that became like, that ain't a dent, that's an impression. You know, like it changed how we saw things. So Darling Nikki is incredible, and the best part of the whole song is towards the end, and in the climax, where Prince is like, Prince wants to grind. Like he third persons himself, and he talks to this hot chick, and I just think it's great. Both these songs are about sex. Which sex act do you want to be in? I want to be grinding on with Nikki, not with the Versace on the Floor girl. 10-8.
You are
Prince.
A dirty man. Kabir, what'd you do?
Me and Pete, we're on the same page so much. This is crazy. Like, yeah. First off, the Versace on the Floor, to me, it was just, okay, we're overdoing this trend right here. It's like, okay, definitely for a ballad, like just write a solid ballad and let's go. So that's why I gave it an 8. I'm just like, yeah, Versace on the Floor. I think I probably listened to it 2 times, and then again, just seems like we're running down the same trend. First off, I hate Versace shirts, so that was that you lost me with that. And then in comparison to like Darling Nikki, which again, not Bruno Mars' fault, like he didn't know he was gonna be up against Darling Nikki, and nobody would ever tell him. Darling Nikki, again, at an apex of an album, and kind of a totally different. Took me back to me, Darling Nikki probably was going to be on 1999, because it was still in that same kind of 1999 controversy album cut that that just what kind of drew me into Prince. But Darling Nikki, hands down, a great part of the movie and a great song, just with the same knocking beat, overly sex-driven theme. And then when you add the fact that you're already within a movie or just hearing it, and in just the context of just straight sex, Darling Nikki, hands down, one of the best Prince songs ever. Hard to kind of mix into a set list because it doesn't really blend or go with anything, but if I ever get the chance and it's ever fitting, it's definitely. But just Darling Nikki, hands down, kills Versace on the Floor.
I'm glad you say these things, and I appreciate your observation as to the fact that you, I think for our listeners, they deserve to hear that as the most listened to DJ in the universe, you just don't have a place to spin Darling Nikki. And that happens really for two reasons. Number one, there's so much movement in that song. It takes you emotionally from one place to the next. And the second part is, if you're spinning really anything besides playing music for a stripper, you don't want to see how people are going to dance to Darling Nikki.
Right.
You know that one dude who takes the tie off his neck and puts it on his as a headband, and then he might do a cartwheel in the middle of shout?
Yeah.
That guy is going to do God knows what when you spin Darling Nikki.
Right. Your party just took a crazy turn.
Crazy turn. And the one that you probably don't want your new mother-in-law to have seen.
Right.
I think that Versace on the Floor, to punctuate your point, and I think and Pete's as well, you know, everything that we like about That's What I Like was done in That's What I Like, and Versace on the Floor, to me, just failed to live up to all that I liked about That's What I Like. The wit of the lyric did not stand up for me, and I just liked it less. You guys made it a knockdown round. I was a little more charitable, but because I'm going last of the three of us in my commentary on this song, if I had taken a look at your scores before I put mine up, it may have influenced. I scored it 10-9, just barely 9.
Okay.
So we move on to round 6, which is When Doves Cry versus Straight Up and Down. I like Straight Up and Down as a song. It's okay. But again, That's What I Like did everything for me in terms of Bruno Mars as a balladeer. Straight Up and Down, it's just a pretty good song. It's a pretty good song that would be a great song for most people. For Bruno Mars, I do hold him to a high standard because I do think that he is what this generation's got as far as an all-around talent. And I love his music a lot. He does a lot for me. I appreciate Bruno Mars. And Straight Up and Down in his catalog is not that great. When Doves Cry, his composition on When Doves Cry, the poetry on the song, the way that the song moved, the fact that it has a ballad feel, but it's not really a ballad, and the fact that he got away with saying, you know what, here's what I say to you, Pete, I'm not even going to put a bass in this song.
Right.
Bass guitar, keyboard, or otherwise. I'm just going to leave the bass out. I don't need it. For him to be able to have a composition that was so strong that he could take a core component of any pop tune and go, nope, not even giving you a bass line. And I'm releasing it as a single. And I'm releasing it as the first single. I think says a lot about how adventurous he was as an artist and how much he had the confidence just to not give a fuck. I don't know that any composition by any artist could really stand up to When Doves Cry. I scored it 10-9. Probably should have been a knockdown. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, with Straight Up and Down, my first note is we've got a problem. You know, Bruno's putting out solid songs, you know, throughout the album. These are all great tunes, but please write about something else. We are again writing about a girl with a big booty, and you know, I love it, but there's just not enough risks being taken for a guy with the caliber of talent around him and the talent that Bruno clearly has. Like, I'm an enormous Bruno Mars fan, but there's just not enough here. And you can't keep up with the maestro if you're going to continue to sing about these same themes, you know, from the same inspiration. It's okay to have an album where you look back. And what I realized in this album is this is almost like a Vegas review of the things that mattered to Bruno growing up. And absolutely great concept for an album. And certainly unfair to judge him against Purple Rain and how these things are put together. But this is a Vegas review, and this song, like you said, John, isn't one of the strongest ones from his catalog, and he'll be able to play it for a long time until there's another song like this. It's not a weak song by any means. It's fun, and look, it's fine. But hot chicks with big booties, got it. Sing about something else. Please sing about something else. When Doves Cry comes out, you know, like the guitar comes out, and it's just nasty from the start. And then that Prince drum sound, that Tupperware bucket sound that I love, he's there. And then this singing, and I just wrote the words Jesus. Like, it's just, you can't do better than this. And amazingly, this is not even the best song on this album. I think the best song is coming. You can make an argument that it's an absolute pillar of his catalog and something he can play anytime, anywhere, and people would love it and they would go crazy for it. But This song is super strong, and the only reason why I did not make this a knockdown, because I really think Straight Up and Down is just, it's not enough, especially in this context, is I do respect Bruno Mars and all the guys that he makes songs with. I do respect that they are making some of the best music right now. So I didn't make it a knockdown. This is kind of like you, John, in the last round. Like, I'm going to call this 10-9, but Jesus, someone grab a towel and start throwing it towards the ring. This is getting ugly. So I have this round 10-9 for Prince.
Severe.
These two songs is like the good and the bad of sitting at a record exec table and talking to a track.
Ouch.
When Doves Cry, when Prince introduced it, the record label did not want to put it out. They were like, we can't use this as, like you said, no bass line, but awesome song. We were introduced to When Doves Cry through a video that was one of the dopest videos that you ever saw, with the play on the two different sides, because nobody heard the track before the video. I think MTV said new Prince song was coming out. So that's how you get introduced to the track. They got this new look. It's the whole band. Nobody has any instruments. Everybody's dancing. It's just one of the dopest tracks. You didn't even remember or even recognize the fact that it didn't have a bass line until after you fell in love with the track.
Yep.
So
had to be told, actually.
Had to be told there was no bass line, because your ears wouldn't tell you that before, but you're just like, this is so slamming. I don't care. It's just like, give it to me. So it actually, a middle finger to the Warner Brothers executives. They did not want this to be a track. They said they couldn't use it, and he did it anyway. And again, it's almost like it has no place in Purple Rain, but has a perfect place in Purple Rain, because later on, when you find out he's writing about himself to his father, the different times that his father made him just upset, just, you know what I mean, brings it full circle. Just the Bruno Mars is almost like he sat down with his record execs and they said, we need another this, and not even realizing they already had 4, 5, 6 the same track, and they just ran it. So that's my whole synopsis of that whole breakdown. Just record execs saying, yeah, give us another one. This is what we want. And then Bruno not using his full creativity to say, okay, no, I'm gonna do something different. That's pretty much hands down knockout. Oh
wow. Well, keep us going. We're gonna go into round 7. I Would Die for You against Calling All My Lovelies.
Start with I Would Die for You, which is hands down one of my favorite Prince tracks. More of a different feel from him. I'm gonna say probably 116 BPM, kind of a different ride, kind of a fast disco-esque type of track to me, which is hands down one of my, probably my top 10 Prince songs for one part of the song. When he gets to the breakdown and he goes, chicka, chicka, chicka. That is, to me, is one of the best, like, just, I live for that part in that song every time I hear it. After a while, we start saying the same things about the Prince songs, because it just has the same, it's just a masterpiece. And then here again, we're at Bruno Mars, and it's almost like you started off so strong and then you just fell off right here. Like you said, we didn't know it'd be a comparison. Dope track, mixed well, but it's just, after a while, you're looking for something different, which maybe today's audience isn't. And then we, as more eclectic and then come from a different musical time, are looking for, tell me a story, tell me something different. Let's set the tone of this album a different way, because you drove this home. So, I mean, it's kind of hard, really, not Bruno Mars. And it seems like we're just knocking him, but it's just that hands down knockout. Like, he can't even get up, like, compared to this one. At this point, it's just like you said, the blows are just coming so consistently. You got to throw the towel in.
Man, that's tough. I'll tell you, I can't disagree with you though. Calling All My Lovelies more the same. I Would Die for You, completely not a recipe song. And
Right.
that little segment in the middle that you pointed out, you're right. It's a great thing, and it's so simple, and it's such an iconic thing that he did. The thing about Prince is that he took all these chances, and now we're looking at tremendous piece of work by Bruno Mars. And what's missing is that he didn't have the confidence in this album that Prince had in his. And let's face it, how can you have as much confidence as Prince? He is one of very, very, very few artists who ever did, let alone was capable of doing, disappear into Studio B at the record plant in Sausalito all by himself and emerge with a complete album all by himself.
Right.
At the age of 18. when, as Pete pointed out, we're comparing somebody to the person who many people, me among them, think was the greatest who ever lived. I mean, we're asking somebody to fight Bruce Lee.
Right.
So and somebody might be great. We're asking Conor McGregor, essentially, today's, the best that today's got, to get in the ring with Bruce Lee. And
no doubt,
in a hypothetical match like the one that we're having right now, you can't fight Bruce Lee and you can't fight Prince. So I also was disappointed in calling All My Lovelies I Would Die For You. Is it one of my favorite Prince tunes? It definitely gets an honorable mention among the hundreds and hundreds of Prince tunes that we know. I dig it. I went 10-9 just because, again, I'm being merciful. What'd you do, Pete?
Yeah, for round 7, I Would Die For You. It's a catalog song. Prince could always play that. And this whole album basically is a catalog thing where you can always play these things. But when it comes to I Would Die For You, I think back to last week's fight with Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet, and they have I Would Die For You as a theme. And that song sucks. This is what you should have done, John. It's written like this, what Prince wrote here. So again, in our unfair comparison, compare and contrast model, I'm even bringing. Look, Prince is even beating John Bon Jovi in this one. So it's like it's 10-9, 10-9. I think John Bon Jovi jumps in like
people aren't in this fight.
Yeah, he comes in and he's like, I'm going to show you. I'd die for you. He's like, tap. And, he blasts him. Calling All My Lovelies. I like the line about all the Aishas or Ishas, whatever. I think that's hilarious. Look,
all the Ishas waiting for me. That is a great line.
Yeah, and again, all that cleverness, I love it. It gets to be too much. The other thing is, and this is not a compliment, the drums on this modern song are dated already. So that's a shame because this song is not as good as Dick in a Box. It's not as good as It Ain't Gay in a Three-Way.
The ultimate skit song.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is it's not gay in a three-way. They have all the things, like when he's like, ooh wee, and damn. I love the phone call aspect. I love Halle Berry's voicemail being there. All of those things, but I'd rather hear Keith Sweat do it. I'd rather hear Color Me Bad do it. I'd rather have Justin Timberlake and Andy Samberg do it. I really would. I mean, he's mocked his own self in this song, and that's a shame. This for me is 10-8.
Ooh. All right, let's go to round 8.
Yeah, round 8 for me. I'll just go to Finesse first. First off, I have an affinity for New Jack Swing and Teddy Riley and all of those things, and I've learned a lot by having these conversations with John. And this is the early 90s callback, and I don't at all get mad at Bruno for giving this to us. The orchestra hit is in there, all of these classic little pieces, and all again, him and the writing team, they don't miss a beat with all of these things, all of these callbacks, right? But callbacks after a while, you're like, yeah, but what's your voice, man? What's your voice? And I think about Lenny Kravitz, and it took him a minute to get away from "You're the New Jimi Hendrix" thing and trying to satisfy that, and he got there. And shame on me for criticizing Lenny Kravitz at all, but I'm trying to illustrate, like, he came out, "Are You Gonna Go My Way?" Even then, multiple albums in, he still sounds like Jimi Hendrix. And he got there. He got to the point where he was Lenny Kravitz, and we all got comfortable with it. And I think this is what Bruno Mars needs. And John, you made the point you started the point that I wanted to definitely add on to is I want Bruno to make an album without 15 people in the room all being clever. I want Bruno to be clever, and I really want to challenge. I want listen to this. I want to challenge Bruno to really dig deep and take some chances. I want you to get into the studio by yourself and really build something, and then bring people in and leave some of the production behind, leave some of the cleverness on the floor, and get to some emotions, get to some places, take some chances like Prince would do. That's the callback I want from. Listen to me, telling Bruno Mars what to do.
He's calling you out, Bruno.
I am. You know what? And I might say it to his face. I was going to say I would, but you know what? I love Bruno Mars, man. I love him. I love that he's so much fun, and I know we're going to get great albums from him. So I do appreciate what this is, and I definitely want to hear what's on the next album. That's for sure. So Finesse is great. I've heard it before. It's New Jack Swing. It's a good New Jack Swing song. It's not even the best New Jack Swing song. So thank you for that. Baby, I'm a Star. Look, this is the champ. Maybe the greatest, like John said. He's out there and he's about to close out his magnum opus album. This is the penultimate song, and he's just in great shape. He's on his toes, and he's just flicking jabs into Bruno Mars's face because he's like, I like this kid. I don't want to end his career. And he's just Baby I'm a Star is great. There's nothing that Finesse has for Baby I'm a Star, and this is for me a 10-9 round.
Severe, you're talking about Baby I'm a Star versus Finesse.
To me, it was almost a reintroduction of Prince. The way the song intros were on the same theme. We're at the crescendo of life in the movie and life in the album on this track. It was one of another Prince song that only people could appreciate it who are really into music. I always categorize Prince fans as two different types.
The Prince fan and the Purple Rain fan.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And even when I'm DJing, if I go into a deeper Prince cut, like if I go as far back as Soft and Wet, which is probably my favorite like Prince cut, people were like, they look around like, who is this pretending to be Prince? And you're like, this is the real essence of Prince that you should know and understand. Mm-hmm. So this song, again, when the album's running so good and you can just keep that at a certain level, this song is what does it, and it's always using like different elements of expertise. Again, we fall off for Bruno. This is the song that's gonna make or break his career because he kind of slid the drums past me at first. I just thought it was a good song, not even realizing that it was BBD drums and then Keith Sweat drums and everybody else's drums. So once I realized that, and then later on adding Cardi B to me, which still a good song and still works, it just kind of. I think this might be his. I'm still waiting to see where he goes from this and what happens after this, because it could be one of his best songs, kind of maybe one of his worst songs.
On round 9, it's a done deal. You know what? My comments about round 9 are really that simple. Too Good to Say Goodbye? Purple Rain, greatest album close there ever was. You can get close, not with Too Good to Say Goodbye. Purple Rain is Purple Rain. What do you say, Pete?
No need to go much further than that. I did have a couple of notes on Too Good to Say Goodbye. It's soulful. It's a callback to the 70s, and it would be great like if it played in a Love Boat movie. And I think that those are all compliments. And I absolutely want more from Bruno Mars, and I can't wait to hear what they come out with next. I won't even try to say anything more about Purple Rain like you guys. We all had the same inclination. There's not much more to say. If you've never seen the story of Purple Rain at the Superbowl, you should watch that little mini documentary. It's fantastic. No song better defines an entire person's body of work than this. I mean, Purple, Paisley, all these concepts are captured in this song. And I would say that we talk about songs that elevate above the great songs, the songs that become timeless. And when you write a song a day for decades, you get to have songs like Purple Rain, and this is one of those. This is one of those songs. And if you wanted to, I would gladly have the conversation where I could defend that Purple Rain is better than Yesterday, and there is no better song than those two songs.
Wow. That is huge, and that is strong. And I want to say these things in closing. First of all, gentlemen, this has been one of the best album fights that we've had, and I thank you both for this tremendous insight. We finally, we've been putting it off, Severe. We've been putting off bringing Prince into the ring until we had you. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did it when we did, and I appreciate your comments about it. Pete, you dug deep on both of these records tonight for bringing what you did. I will say this: Prince, to me, the greatest there ever was. Bruno, the greatest there is right now, at the level where he is, and I hope that he gets to the point where he's willing to take us on an adventure. I hope he gets to the point where he's willing to tell everybody at the label and everybody who's got a bug in his ear to go fuck off, because he can do it all by himself, because I want him to do it. And I'll go on that ride. I got that kind of faith in him.
Most definitely. My pleasure, fellas. This was awesome. This was awesome. An easy one, but I mean, I appreciate always just talk music anytime, especially with these two artists. I think it's super dope. But like Pete, you and I, we on the same page, bro.
Yeah,
you know
man.
What I mean, John, we on the same page too. But we, especially in breaking down this Purple Rain album and a lot of stuff. But I mean, it was a pleasure, fellas. A pleasure.
All right, DJ Severe, everybody.
Yeah, John, this was a great fight. Obviously, it comes down, all three of us see it basically as being over by about round 6. We could do the tallying, but I think we all know that this is Prince absolutely destroying whatever Bruno Mars had put together. I would love to see Bruno Mars do his own Purple Rain movie. Like, he can. Not many people do that anymore, where they make the movie. So I would love to see that happen, and I got money for that. I would gladly spend money to go see Bruno Mars.
Oh, hell yeah!
Right.
You say you want a leader, but you can't seem to make up your mind.